हरि ओम। ओम। ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री हिरण्यगर्भाय नमः। ओम श्री महाविष्णवे नमः। ओम श्री महादेवाय नमः। ओम श्री महादुर्गायै नमः। ओम श्री राम रामाय नमः। ओम श्री सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं। भवानी शङ्करौ वन्दे श्रद्धाविश्वासरूपिणौ याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धाः स्वान्तस्तमीश्वरम्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीतायाः पतये नमः। बुद्धिर्बलं यशोधैर्यं निर्भयत्वमरोगता अजाड्यं वाक्पटुत्वं च हनुमत्स्मरणात् भवेत्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम नमः शिवाय 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 ओम नमः शिवाय। नमः पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव। हरि ओम हरि ओम। So in the 7th chapter of Gita, Bhagavan tells Arjuna that Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Mayam Etam Tarantite. That my Maya Trigunatmika is very difficult to transcend, but one who surrenders to me is able to transcend this Maya. But when we have all negative qualities and lot of desires in our heart and do not follow the path of dharma, then we are unable to transcend this Maya. Bhagavan says that after many lifetimes a person gains proper understanding, proper knowledge, and surrenders to me and becomes free of this samsara. But when we have kamnas, we propitiate other devatas to fulfill our desires. Bhagavan says that the desires are fulfilled. I alone give the result through those devatas. But worshipping these devatas, one will gain limited result. But if you surrender to me, you will gain that infinity. Bhagavan also says that I am not available for all because of my Maya, except for my devotees. When my devotees surrender to me, they come to realize me. Otherwise, everyone gets deluded by my Maya. Though everyone gets deluded by Maya, I am not deluded by my own Maya. So, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna. Hey Arjuna, I know all those beings who were in the past. I know all of them in the present. And I know all who will come in the future. But except my devotees, no one comes to know me. So that is the problem, that we have to transcend this Maya, but we have to overcome our desires, our negativities. Then only we will be able to surrender to Ishvara. So that Bhagavan again he tells in the next verse that how our impurities come in the way of surrendering to Ishvara. Verse number 27. Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. Bhagavan says कि हे भारत, is addressing Arjuna, who was born in Bharata Vamsha. So, हे भारत, द्वंद्व मोहेन सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहन सर्गे यांति parantapa. He addresses Arjuna as parantapa also. Parantapa means one who gives affliction to his enemies. So, hey Arjuna, that all beings, sarva bhutani, sammoham sarge yanti. Sarge means in their birth itself, they are born with delusion, born with confusion. Sammoham sarge yanti. See, our this avidya, due to which we don't know ourselves, not knowing ourselves as we are, itself is called avidya. This avidya is anadi. So we are born again and again due to this avidya. and except some rare few who are born enlightened, but all beings are born ignorant. So sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. And what is this moha? Bhagavan says dvandva moha. The moha due to the pairs of opposite. See, we experience this world as pairs of opposites, as dvandva. Dvandva means two things which go together, which are seemingly opposite, like sukha and dukkha, jay and parajay, labh and hani. All these are called dvandva, pain and pleasure. They go together. They go together means if he gains joy in one object, same object later on gives us sorrow. Where there is joy, there is also sorrow connected to it. Where there is victory, there is also defeat. Where there is gain, there is also loss. Where there is pleasure, there is also pain. Where there is coming together, there is also going apart. So these things go together as though. They are called dvandva, but one gets deluded by this dvandva. How one gets deluded? But how this dvandva arises? Bhagavan says, Ichha dvesha samuttena. They arise due to ichha and dvesha. Ichha means liking. We like something. And dvesha, we don't like. So all that we think is giving us joy, we have attraction towards it. See, when we interact with the world at different levels, physically, emotionally, at the level of the senses, at the level of our intellect, with every interaction, we keep getting the result. We keep getting some experience out of it. So those experiences, certain experiences we like and certain experiences we don't like. And we think that that is because of those objects or because of those person. So those from where we think we are getting experience of our liking, we get attracted towards them. So we develop the desire to obtain them, or we develop that attachment to them. And from those things which we don't like or getting sorrow, we develop dislike or hatred towards them. So this firm attitude of likes and dislikes, which we have said in the 3rd chapter also, Bhagavan talked about raga and dvesha, gives rise to this dvandva moha, gives rise to delusion arising from these pairs of opposites. I had mentioned before also, Bhagavan had said that raga dvesha is there in our senses. Indriyasya indriyasyarthe raga dvesha vyavasthito. In all the senses, there is natural likes and dislikes, which we carry from our past lives. So even a child who is born, in the initial period itself, has likes and dislikes. Certain things we like as a little child, certain things we don't like. As we grow, our likes and dislikes becomes more and more clear to us, and these likes and dislikes are seen at all levels, in what we hear, what we taste, what we touch, what we feel. Everywhere we have our own likes and dislikes. At the emotional level also, at the intellectual level also. There are certain ideas, certain concepts we like, certain things we don't like. Even philosophies and all these dharmas and all, we have fascination for some, not for others. So these likes and dislikes are there inbuilt in us. Inbuilt means we are carrying it from our past due to the samskar, and they express in our mind, in our intellect. Because of these likes and dislikes, we divide the world into what gives us joy and what gives us sorrow. So we experience this dvandva of joys and sorrows, pleasure and pain, victory and defeat. And our whole attention is moving towards those things which will give us joy, and moving away from those things which are giving us sorrow. So our whole attention gets focused on the world. Our whole attention gets focused on the world, and in the bargain we get confused. We don't understand things properly, and we fail to comprehend Ishvara, and we fail to surrender to Ishvara. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji writes in his commentary कि नहीं इच्छा द्वेष दोष वशीकृत चित्तस्य यथा भूतार्थ विषय ज्ञानम उत्पद्यते बहिः. That one who is endowed with this defect of raga dvesha, ichha dvesha, is unable to even see things clearly in this world. So what to talk about that Supreme? With our intense likes and dislikes, we are unable to judge a person, judge a situation, judge an object properly. Our likes and dislikes color our vision, doesn't allow us to objectively assess situation, things, people, objects, etc. Our likes and dislikes colors our vision. Even with our strong likes and dislikes, when we study the scriptures, or we listen to pravachans, or we contemplate, even that gets colored. We focus more attention on that which we like. We disregard that which we don't like. Even scriptures, people, they divide it. Whatever they like, they say, हाँ ये अच्छा है. And whatever they dislike, they will just neglect it. But that is not the way to look at it. We have to look at it holistically. Everything which is said in the scripture is good for us. Just as when we are not well, we go to the doctor, he gives us medicines which we have to take to become all right. Now some medicines might be very sweet tasting, tasty medicines, but some medicines might be very bitter. So if we say that no, I will take only sweet medicines, I will throw away all the bitter medicines, then it will not help me to regain my health. Similarly, certain things shared in the scriptures, we may not appreciate it. Later on, Bhagwan will tell about this Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic also, that the Sattvic thing, like we follow certain discipline which will help us to grow in our spiritual path, in the beginning, it is like poison only, it's very bitter. But as you continue practicing, you will experience more and more joy. But in case of Rajasic joys, you feel the pleasure instantly. But as you proceed on that path, you will become more and more miserable. So if we base our decisions in life on our likes and dislikes, we will move more and more towards samsara only. But Bhagwan says what to do. All beings are born with this likes and dislikes, with this confusion, which are born from this confusion or delusion is born from this likes and dislikes. So Ichha Dvesha Samuttena, born from Ichha Dvesha. Dvandva Mohena, this Dvandva Moha, the delusion with respect to Dvandva, the pairs of opposite. Sarva Bhutani Sammoham Sarge Yanti, all beings, Bhagwan says, they come under the sway of this delusion, Sarge, right from their birth, born with this delusion. And due to this delusion, we don't move forward on our spiritual path, and we don't surrender to Ishvara. Otherwise, we surrender to Ishvara instantly, we will become free of this samsara. But this Dvandva Moha is so strong, it doesn't allow us to surrender to that Ishvara. So what is the solution? And who becomes free of this Dvandva Moha? And how do they surrender to Ishvara? That is now said in the next verse. Bhagwan says, Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmuktaha bhajante mam dridhavrataha. Bhagwan says कि येषां तु अंतगतं पापं जनानां punya karmanam. Those who follow the path of punya, means those who follow the path of karma yoga, dharma and karma yoga, they slowly and steadily become free of this dvandva moha. They become free of the impurities of their mind. This we had seen in the third chapter also. Bhagwan elaborately discussed the path of karma yoga. There Bhagwan talked about this raga dvesha. He says, don't come under the sway of raga dvesha. You continue following the path of goodness. Even if you don't like it in the beginning, you continue on this path. Don't base your decisions on your likes and dislikes. Base your decisions on what is proper, what is right. And that's what Arjuna had also requested Bhagwan, ki please tell me what is Shreya for me. Yash Shreyasyan nishchitam bruhitan me. Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. Ki what is this Shreya, what is good for me, you tell. And Bhagwan tells him. So though initially Arjuna did not like to fight this war, means he felt that his own people were involved. But then after understanding this path of Shreya, he engaged himself in this war. So Bhagavan tells, don't come under the sway of this raga dvesha, but continue following the path of goodness, path of punya karma. So the first step is to give up papa and follow the path of punya. Thereafter, as you continue with this path of punya, dedicate all your actions to that Ishvara. Do your work, live in this world for the sake of Ishvara. Walk on this path for the sake of Ishvara. Even if one has to face hardship, physical level or emotionally, intellectually, one continues on this path because he is serving that Ishvara. Out of love for that Ishvara, you keep following this path of goodness. So, Esham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam. So, those people who follow this path of punya karma, path of goodness, then their papa comes to an end. All their negativities, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, all the impurities of the mind, they just drop away as one continues to follow the path of goodness. And when those negativities fall down, when the mind becomes free of all this raga dvesha, then Bhagavan says, Te dvandva moha nirmuktaha. They become free of this dvandva moha. They become free of the delusion created by this dvandva. Means they don't get disturbed by the ups and downs of this world. They don't get disturbed by the pleasures and pain. They don't get disturbed by the joys and sorrows. They don't get disturbed by the victory and defeat, gain or loss. Bhagavan had said before also, कि सुख दुखे समय कृत्वा लाभा लाभो जया जयो ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवम पापम अवाप्स्यसि. That making sukha dukkha labh hani jay parajay same, you just engage yourself in this war. The most important thing is to follow your path of dharma. Don't worry about the outcome. Whatever be the outcome, you do what is right, what is proper. So, when we sincerely follow this path of goodness, then our mind start becoming free of raga dvesha. That strong opinion which we have, that strong likes and dislikes which we have about everything. There are people who have likes and dislikes about everything in this world. Strongly they like something and strongly they dislike something. In their own life, in their family, in the neighborhood, in the society, in the government, in everything. Person has got strong opinion, strong views of intense likes and dislikes. So Bhagavan says that you just do what is proper, what is good. So mind start becoming more and more calm and peaceful, will become free of this dvandva moha. And when that mind becomes free of dvandva moha, one can worship Ishvara, one can surrender to Ishvara. Bhagavan says, those who become free of this dvandva moha, bhajante mam dhradavrataha, they worship me with dhradavrata, with a firm resolve, with a firm understanding. Shankaracharya ji writes, dhradavrata means evam eva paramartha tattvam na anyatha iti evam nishchita vijnana dhradavrata uchyante. One gains firm understanding of Bhagavan's nature. And he holds on to that understanding firmly and surrender to that Ishvara. means becomes clear about Bhagwan's Param Bhava, Param Tattva, Bhagwan's supreme nature. There is no doubt, there is no confusion. And with the firm understanding of Ishvara in his heart, he surrenders to that Ishvara. See, as our understanding becomes more and more clear about Ishvara, we surrender to Ishvara. When we understand his Mahima, when we understand his glories, then it becomes easier for us to surrender to him. In the 11th chapter of this Bhagavad Gita also, Arjuna requested Bhagwan that I want to see your Vishvarupa. So Bhagwan gave him a divine vision and showed him his Vishvarupa. So in the body of Bhagwan itself, Arjuna saw the entire world. Everyone and everything he saw in Ishvara, in Bhagwan. He saw the past, present, future. He saw everything in Ishvara. And when he saw this, he did namaskar to Bhagwan and he praised Bhagwan and he surrendered to Bhagwan. So when we understand the Mahima of that Ishvara, then we will be able to surrender to him. So te dvandva moha nirmuktaha bhajante mam dridhavrataha. So these people who follow the path of punya, that is karma yoga, become free of this dvandva moha, become free of their papa, understand Bhagwan properly and worship him and surrender to him. Bhajante mam dridhavrataha. Okay. Now, why do we have to surrender to Ishvara? Or with what intention do these people, Bhagwan's devotees, worship him, surrender to him, or do the sadhana to attain him? With what intention? Te kimartam bhajante. For what purpose do they worship Ishvara? That is now said in the next verse. Bhagwan says, Jara marana mokshaya mamashritya yatanti ye te brahma tadvidu krishnam adhyatmam karma chakhilam. Bhagwan says that jara marana mokshaya mam ashritya yatanti ye. Those devotees, they put forth effort to surrender to Ishvara, to meditate on Ishvara, to have developed that supreme love for Ishvara. Why? To become free of jara marana, to become free of this samsara, which is nothing but all this old age, death, means all the sorrows and pains. Jara means old age. Marana means death. See, we are born in this body. We undergo a lot of experience throughout our life. Then we die. And if we don't get moksha, then we are born again. Again we go through the same pain and sorrow and trouble. Then again we die. Then again we are born. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Iha samsare, bahudustare, kripaya pare, pahi murare. This is called samsara. To be born again and again and to die. To be born again. And all the time we are not born as humans. We might be born as animals, birds, plants, devatas. different uh, in different life forms. Depending on our karma, we are born in different life forms. And all life forms are having their own sorrows and pains. Animals also have so much of trouble all the time, fear. If you see in the forest also, the deer so nice and humble, but they have all the time fear. They have to keep looking around to see that hope no tiger comes to chase us. So there is always that fear, the trouble. Then being in the womb of mother, that is also confining in a small place. Person experiences lot of trouble, afflictions. Or even in the different life forms, some are born through eggs, some are born directly from the earth. So there are different types of life form. Udbija, they are called. Udbija means born from the earth, like the trees and plants. Some are andaja, born from anda, from the eggs. Some are shvedaja, born from moisture. They just require certain moisture and they are born, like mosquitoes and all. Then jarayuja, born from the womb. So in different ways we are born and we undergo the whole life process. Some creatures, they have very short duration of life. Like some creatures are born during the rainy season for a short time and they die. And in their short period, they undergo so much of experience of joys and sorrows. Sometimes a little one is born and immediately there is some other creature who grabs it and takes it away and all. So sorrow is there in different life forms. And even in human life, our childhood is all the time dependent on others. If we are hungry, we have to cry. If we are having some pain, we cry. If we are hurt, we cry. If we want to eat, we cry. If we want to sleep, we cry. So depending on others. Then when we grow, become young, we seemingly become more and more, it seems as though we have become independent. But even there, we depend on the family, we depend on the society, we depend on our friends, relatives. Nowadays we depend on different gadgets, depend on electronic medias, we depend on the electricity, we depend on the network. So many dependents. Then as one grows old, again the dependency is there, depends on others. Even if we want to go to the bathroom or somewhere, we want to take help of others. And it is said that dependency is sorrow. Sarvam paravasham dukkham, sarvam atmavasham sukham. The more and more we depend on others, other beings, or other objects, or situations, whatever others, is sorrow. The more and more we become self-reliant, we depend on ourselves, it is joy. But it is all the times not possible, so one undergoes a lot of sorrow, trouble, pain. When things are under my control and all, I feel as though I am the boss of this world, I am the master. Then that control goes away, then I am totally helpless. Nobody is there around me. Even in the government and all, we see that when the power is there, everyone is flocking around them. Not only people, but security guards and so many things, so much taam-jam is there everywhere. But once they lose their power, nobody is there around them. Even the newspaper or the news channels don't mention them. They are just nobodies. Even in the field of glamour, if the film and all becomes hit, is known everywhere. But that is also short time. Then after some time, they lose their fame, they lose their glamour, they become miserable, more and more miserable. They don't know what to do. So these are all sorrows of samsara, jara, marana. And if one doesn't do anything about it, we will die to be born again and again go through the same process. So jara marana mokshaya, in order to become free of the jara marana, means free of the samsara, yatanti, they put forth effort. Mam ashritya, totally dependent on Ishvara. Right effort, as we have seen, right from the beginning. Karma Yoga, Chitta Shuddhi, Jnana Prapti, Karma Sannyas, Dhyana. This dhyana itself is Sharanagati, surrendering to Ishvara, taking total refuge in Ishvara, depending on Ishvara alone. So that is what is said, ki mam ashritya yatanti ye, those who put forth effort to surrender to me, to worship me, to realize me, they ultimately come to realize me. So what do they realize? Bhagavan says, te brahma tad viduhu, they come to understand Brahma as their own self. When we surrender to Ishvara, Ishvara is Brahma only. So they come to understand Brahma as their own self. Te Brahma tad viduhu, Krishnam adhyatmam, they come to understand the adhyatma, that is the inner self. Karma cha akhilam, they come to understand the karma, the total karma they understand. See, Bhagavan uses these terms which gives rise to the question in Arjuna's mind. With that question, he begins the next chapter. So all these terms will be explained elaborately in the next chapter. But here Bhagavan just mentions it. He had said in the beginning of this chapter that, what did he say? That asamshayam samagram mam yatha nyasyasi tachrunu. कि मय्यासक्त मनः पार्थ योगम युंजन मदाश्रयः असंशयम समग्रम माम यथा ज्ञास्यसि तच्छृणु. हे Arjuna, you listen to me properly with full attention, totally dedicated to me, then I will give you that knowledge by which you will know me free from all doubts, and you will know me samagram, completely, holistically, completely. So what do we mean by knowing Bhagavan completely? Knowing Bhagavan completely is knowing that Brahma, knowing Adhyatma, knowing Karma, knowing Adhibhut, knowing Adhidaiva, knowing Adhiyajna, and knowing even after dropping this body. So the 7 things are mentioned here, which is the topic of the next chapter. But here Bhagavan briefly mentions that one who surrenders to me knows me completely. See, there is this famous famous example is given of this six blind men. They were in front of an elephant. So they were wondering, what is this? Maybe an elephant made up of elephant image, huge one. So they started discussing, what is this object in front of us? They had heard that this is elephant, but what is the nature of this elephant which is there in front of us? So all these six men, totally blind, they started checking, trying to find out with the help of their hands. So one blind man, he approached the elephant and reached his leg. So he started checking the leg of the elephant. And he said, I have understood. The elephant is like a pillar. The elephant is a pillar, huge pillar. Another blind man, he approached the side of the elephant and he touched it, and it was plain like. So he said it is like a wall. Elephant is a wall. Another blind man got hold of the tail of the elephant and he said elephant is a rope. Someone checked the ears of the elephant and said elephant is like the whatever this, which we used to winnowing. So like that, everyone, some checked the tusk. So all these blind people, they checked the different limbs of this elephant and they expressed it. Though they said something though they said something true about the elephant, but it was not completely true. And one fellow was saying one thing, another was saying another thing. So when they started discussing, they started arguing with each other, almost coming to blows. One fellow said, no, it is a pillar. The other said, no, it's a wall. And third fellow said, no, it's a rope. So they started arguing very vehemently. And another person, having proper vision, he saw that elephant completely. He not only saw the elephant, he also saw all these blind people, what they were looking at. And he understood what they are saying is true, but what they are saying is incomplete. All this thing put together, what they are saying, all this thing put together, plus more is this elephant. All these are different expressions of this elephant. Similarly, when we talk about Ishvara, different people talk different things about Ishvara. Some say Ishvara is Sagun, some say Ishvara is Nirgun. Some say Ishvara is not there. Some say everything is Shunya. Some say all sorts of things people say. Bhagwan here reveals his Samagra Roop. Actually, his transcendental nature is Brahma. But that same Brahma is expressing in our own heart as Adhyatma, as our own Pratyekatma, as this Atma. So this Atma is also Brahma only. And all the actions which are happening in this world, performed by all these different beings, not only performed by beings, but all the other actions which are happening are also expressions of that Brahma. Through his power of that prana only, all these actions are possible. Also the actions which are performed by all the beings, the yajna actions, are also expressions of that Brahma. Again, in the next verse, Bhagavan says that all the bhuta, adhibhuta, means all this material world is also expression of Brahma only. Then adhidaiva is Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is also expression of Brahma. Then adhiyajna. This adhiyajna is Vaishvanara. This adhiyajna is also expression of Brahma. So we'll chant that verse. Next verse. Sadhi bhutadhidevam mam sadhiyajnancha ye viduhu prayanakalepi cha mam te viduryukta chetasah. Bhagavan says, they know me, mam viduhu sa adhibhuta adhidaivam, along with adhibhut and adhidaiva. So adhibhut means all that is created. Means this entire created world is called adhibhut, which keeps on changing, modifying. Then adhidaiva is that same Paramatma holding this whole world in a subtle way within himself. That is Hiranyagarbha. Adhidaiva is Hiranyagarbha. Then adhiyajna. Adhiyajna is that Ishvara who is because of whom all actions become possible. All actions are called that yajna. All actions are made possible because of that Ishvara as Vaishvanara. Vaishvanara alone acts in the entire waking world. So Vaishvanara is also expression of that Brahma. So when we understand, when we surrender to Ishvara with proper attitude, after purifying our mind, we come to understand Ishvara in his samagra roop, as Brahma, as Adi, as Adhyatma, that is the self, as karma, all the karmas, adhibhut, as all the material world, adhidaiva, as Hiranyagarbha, adhiyajna, as Vaishvanara. So sadhi bhutadi daivam mam sadhi yajnancha ye viduhu, and then when they drop this body, when an enlightened person leaves this body, thereafter also he knows Bhagwan, he becomes one with Bhagwan. Prayana kale pichamam. Prayana kale, marana kale. When the gross body is dropped, when an enlightened person drops the gross body, even his subtle body merges with the totality. So prayana kale picha mam te viduhu, they come to know me even at the time of death. Means even at the last minute of their life, if they surrender to me, they will know me completely. Even in the second chapter also, Bhagwan had said, Kistitva syam antakalepi brahma nirvana mrichati. Even at the last minute, at the time of death, if one is established in this firm knowledge of Ishvara, one will gain that moksha. So prayana kale pichamam te viduhu yukta chetasaha. So those who are yukta chetas, who have firm understanding and have got single pointed attention, their mind is focused and pure, and firm understanding, and when they drop this body, that time also they know Bhagwan completely. So these 7 things are mentioned here. 7 names, 7 terms are used. Bhagwan says, one who surrenders to me, put forth effort to become free of Jara Marana, become free of this samsara, they know me as Brahma, as Adhyatma, as Karma, along with Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, Adhiyajna, and they know at the time of death also, Prayana Kale. Bhagwan just uttered these terms. So Arjuna, when he heard this, he did not know what are these terms. He wanted to know the meaning of these terms. See, we understand the philosophy, we understand the teaching if the meaning of each and every word used is clear. Otherwise, it will be very vague. So Arjuna asked this question in the next chapter. Okay, please explain all these terms. So the whole next chapter is about explaining these 7 terms used. Though the 6 terms Bhagwan explains briefly, but he takes up the last thing elaborately in the next chapter. Prayana kale pichamam te vidur yukta chetasaha. That statement is elaborately discussed in the next chapter. Very beautiful chapter that we will see tomorrow. But here Bhagwan concludes with this shloka. Then there is a concluding that Sankalpa Vakya is there. Om Tatsada iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Jnana Vijnana Yogo Nama Saptamodhyayah. Thus conclude this Saptamodhyayah, which is each adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita is like a Upanishad. And it not only reveals the Brahma Vidya, but also the science of Yoga Shastra, and in the form of a dialogue between Bhagwan Krishna and Arjuna. The name of this chapter is Jnana Vijnana Yoga. So in this chapter we saw Bhagwan telling Arjuna, because in the 6th chapter he had said that one who meditates on me, they are the best. In the end of 6th chapter, Bhagwan had said, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. One who meditates on me, that yogi is the best. But who are you? What's your nature? So in the 7th chapter, Bhagwan reveals his nature. He tells Arjuna, I will tell you about myself. I will introduce myself to you. My supreme nature is beyond understanding, is beyond all grasping. It's not possible to comprehend. But you can know me through my Prakriti. So Bhagwan reveals his twofold Prakriti, the Para and Apara Prakriti. Bhagwan says, through this Para and Apara Prakriti alone, I have become the world and all the jivas. I appear like the world and appear like all the jivas. So I am present everywhere in everything. I am the rasa in water. Rasoham apsu kaunteya. I am present everywhere. Just like a sutre manigana iva, like the thread is present in the entire mala, I am present in this world. But due to my maya, people get deluded and are unable to recognize me. Those who have negative qualities, they don't surrender to me. But those who are a follower of the path of goodness, they surrender to me. My Artha, Jidnyasu, Artharthi and Jnani Bhakta surrender to me. Jnani Bhakta is the best. But due to lot of kamnas in their heart, they go and worship other devatas to fulfill their kamanas. But their kamnas get fulfilled by me only through those devatas. I only fulfill their kamna. I am not available for all, but those who are devoted to me, for them I am available. I am pragat. Hari Vyapak Sarvatra Samana Premate Pragat Hoi Mai Jana. So one who has become free of Ichcha, Dvesha and Dvandva, and one who surrenders to me, they come to realize me completely, holistically. They come to know that I am Brahma, that I myself am Adhyatma, that I am Karma, that I am Adibhuta, that I am Adideva, that I am Adiyajna. And even at the time of death, they come to know me. So it's the most fascinating, most beautiful chapter. But Bhagwan continues with this topic in the next chapter also, and other chapters that follow. So it's the most fascinating teaching of Bhagwan. What is conveyed in all the Upanishads, what is conveyed in our Vedas, what is conveyed in all the Dharma Shastras are very beautifully, systematically presented in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, if we study Bhagavad Gita, then no other text is required actually for us to understand and follow this spiritual path. No other guidance is required. Gita sugita kartavyaha kim anya shastra vistaraihi ya swayam padmanavasya mukha padmat vinishruta. So we should be very grateful to Bhagwan Sri Krishna, Sakshat, that Bhagwan who took avatar as Krishna, and he gave this Bhagavad Gita to us. Today we are celebrating, lot of people are celebrating today also, that Janmashtami, Bhagwan Sri Krishna's birth. So we offer our sincere gratitude and our Sashtang Pranam to Bhagwan Sri Krishna. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna. Hari Om. So you take care. Stay safe, peaceful, happy, healthy. Do your work, do your sadhana. And we will meet again tomorrow. We will begin this chapter tomorrow. It's a continuation, but very fascinating chapter. So we will begin this 8th chapter tomorrow. So Hari Om. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. 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 Shri Ram Jaya Jaya Ram, Shri Ram Jaya Jaya Ram, Shri Ram Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. बोलिए सियावर रामचंद्र भगवान की जय. ओम पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ओम शांति शांति शांतिः. हरिः ओम. श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ओम.